Recognizing the signs of verbal abuse. How to protect yourself and others. Verbal abuse is a type of emotional abuse that involves the use of words to harm, manipulate, or control another person. It can occur in any type of relationship, including romantic relationships, family relationships, and work relationships. Unfortunately, many people do not recognize the signs of verbal abuse, which can make it difficult to identify and address. In this article, we will discuss the signs of verbal abuse and how to recognize them. One of the most common signs of verbal abuse is name-calling. This can involve the use of derogatory or insulting names to belittle or degrade another person. The abuser may use words like stupid, worthless, or ugly to attack their victim's self-esteem and make them feel small and powerless. This type of name-calling can be especially harmful if it is repeated frequently or if it is done in public. Another sign of verbal abuse is constant criticism. This can involve the abuser finding fault with everything the victim does, no matter how small or insignificant. They may criticize the victim's appearance, their cooking, their cleaning, their work, or their hobbies. This type of criticism can be very damaging to the victim's self-esteem and can make them feel like they can never do anything right. Verbal abuse can also involve gaslighting, which is a form of psychological manipulation that involves the abuser making the victim doubt their own sanity or perception of reality. Gaslighting can involve the abuser denying that certain events occurred, or insisting that the victim is misremembering things. This can make the victim feel confused and disoriented, and can make them question their own judgment and sanity. Another sign of verbal abuse is isolation. This can involve the abuser controlling who the victim can see, where they can go, and what they can do. The abuser may try to cut the victim off from their friends and family, or they may try to keep the victim away from other sources of support. This can make the victim feel trapped and alone, and can make it difficult for them to seek help or escape the abusive situation. Verbal abuse can also involve threats and intimidation. This can involve the abuser threatening to harm the victim, their family, or their pets if the victim does not comply with their demands. They may also use physical intimidation, such as standing over the victim or getting in their face, to make them feel afraid and powerless. If you are experiencing any of these signs of verbal abuse, it is important to seek help. Verbal abuse can have serious long-term effects on your mental and emotional well-being, and it can also lead to physical abuse. Here are some steps you can take to address verbal abuse. 1. Identify the abuse. The first step in addressing verbal abuse is to recognize that it is happening. This can be difficult, especially if the abuse is subtle or if you have been gaslit into believing that you are the problem. However, it is important to trust your instincts and acknowledge the reality of the situation. 2. Set boundaries. Once you have recognized that you are being verbally abused, it is important to set boundaries with the abuser. This can involve telling them that their behavior is not acceptable, and insisting that they stop. It can also involve limiting your contact with the abuser, or cutting them off entirely if necessary. 3. Seek support. It is important to seek support from trusted friends and family members, or from a professional therapist. Talking to others about your experiences can help you process your emotions and gain perspective on the situation. A therapist can also help you develop coping strategies and provide you with resources to help you leave the abusive situation if necessary. 4. Take care of yourself. Verbal abuse can be very damaging to your mental and emotional well-being. It is important to take care of yourself during and after experiencing verbal abuse. This can involve practicing self-care activities, such as exercise, meditation, or hobbies that bring you joy. It can also involve seeking medical attention if the abuse has led to physical harm or if you are experiencing symptoms of anxiety or depression. 5. Consider leaving the situation. If the verbal abuse is severe or if it is part of a pattern of abuse, it may be necessary to leave the situation entirely. This can be a difficult decision, but it is important to prioritize your safety and well-being. You may need to seek legal assistance, such as a restraining order or a divorce, to help you leave the situation. In conclusion, verbal abuse is a serious form of emotional abuse that can have long-lasting effects on a person's mental and emotional well-being. It is important to recognize the signs of verbal abuse, such as name-calling, constant criticism, gaslighting, isolation, threats, and intimidation, and to seek help if you are experiencing any of these behaviors. Remember to set boundaries, seek support, take care of yourself, and consider leaving the situation if necessary. With the right resources and support, it is possible to heal from the effects of verbal abuse and to create a safer, healthier, and happier life for yourself. It is important to note that verbal abuse is not your fault. No one deserves to be verbally abused, and you should not blame yourself for the abuser's behavior. It is also important to remember that you are not alone. Many people have experienced verbal abuse, and there are resources available to help you. If you know someone who is experiencing verbal abuse, it is important to offer support and to encourage them to seek help. However, it is also important to respect their autonomy and to avoid judgment or victim blaming. Remember that it can be difficult for someone to leave an abusive situation, and that it is not your job to fix the situation for them. Instead, offer support, validation, and resources, and let them make their own decisions. In conclusion, verbal abuse is a serious form of emotional abuse that can have devastating effects on a person's mental and emotional well-being. If you are experiencing verbal abuse, it is important to recognize the signs and to seek help. Remember to set boundaries, seek support, take care of yourself, and consider leaving the situation if necessary. You deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and there are resources available to help you. If you are a parent, it is important to teach your children about healthy communication and to model respectful behavior in your own relationships. This can involve teaching them about the importance of active listening, empathy, and conflict resolution skills. It can also involve modeling respectful behavior, such as avoiding name-calling or criticism, and expressing emotions in a healthy way. In addition, it is important to talk to your children about verbal abuse and to help them recognize the signs. Encourage them to speak up if they or someone they know is experiencing verbal abuse, and let them know that it is never okay to treat someone with disrespect or to use hurtful language. Overall, recognizing the signs of verbal abuse and taking action to address it is crucial for promoting healthy relationships and emotional well-being. Whether you are experiencing verbal abuse or supporting someone who is, remember that you are not alone and that there are resources available to help. With support, it is possible to heal from the effects of verbal abuse and to create healthier, more fulfilling relationships.